All right, so let me take you through the process I've used in making this beautiful Ankara male short. So if this short sounds, or if you love what you're seeing and this sounds like what you want to learn, don't forget to watch to the very end. I will take you through the whole stitching processes of this male short. So I hope you love what you're seeing. So it will be of interest for you to watch so you can sew for yourself, for your children, for your husband, and for also your customer. This will be so explanatory from beginning till the very end. I have made a previous video on how to draft this short on the channel, which I will drop the link in the description box of this particular video. So let's get down to the stitching process proper. Okay, so here we want to see the gumming of this Ankara short. So it will be a very quick and fast video. So you are going to use gum stain to gum this. Now gum stain, you will use it to gum the band from the wrong side of the outfit. So the reason I'm just showing you this is for you to just understand how these things are done. So the gum stain, you gum all through this way. You're not going to gum the fullness of the band. You can just gum, like, let's assume this is around 3 inches or thereabout. This is around 3 inches or thereabout. This is 3 inches here, yeah? 3 inches. So gum all of this to the very end. I will gum this to come back to show you how to fold. So here now I have finished the gumming here. So what you will do next is to fold 1/2 inch this way. Make sure that the folding is equal all through till the very end. After the 1/2 inch folding, you now fold the size of your band, which could be 1 inch, 1.5, depending on how big you want your band to be. But recommended should be 1/4, right? You fold this one as well all through to the very end, and then you fold the last one on top. So I will do this and show you the result. Right, so here we have done folding the band. Look at how 1/2 inch was first folded this way, and then 1/4 was folded next, just this way, right, as you can see, and then the rest of the allowance left was folded on top, which was later tucked in underneath. Now please note importantly that the one under must be bigger than the one on top, so that by the time you stitch here, it will catch the one on the right. So the band has been folded. Now let's go ahead to gum the rest of the shorts. So this here, right here, is the zip flag or zip flap. Then that was placed together this way. Then place gum back at the back. Then gummed it this way. So note the shape it was gummed on. Later on, I will trim the excess gum stain around this. Then the trimming can be done with the help of your small little cutter. So you can use it to trim all through this way. Just trim, you know. So the essence of showing you all of these things is for you to understand and then learn how to do this on your own without much stress. So for most of us whom are yet seeing me for the very first time, my name is Mr. Redefined. So don't forget to like this video, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you will get more notifications when I make or post new videos just like this. So I will now, the next I will go now will be the pocket edge right here, the front pocket edge, which I will also show you how it's being done as well. So on the pocket edge, all you need to do is just cut a gum stain and place on those notches you made while you were cutting. Now the notching, you place it on the diagonal form, just this way. So just, you know, place it this way, diagonal form. Then you are going to gum at that point, just this way. So the reason I kind of prefer using steam iron to gum is because steam iron makes the work soft and smooth, unlike dry cell. But if you don't have steam iron, you can still use dry cell. It will still give you a similar result. But steam iron is the best, right? If I'm to say, though steam iron is really meant for finishing. When you are done sewing, use your steam iron to stitch to finish, to do proper ironing. But lately I find it more convenient to use it while gumming. So you trim and then gum. So now one of the things you will learn from this video is that it's not advisable to use your normal fabric scissors to be cutting your gum. Now the reason for this is because it tends to blunt the mouth of the scissors, right? So it's better off you use your cutter, just the one I'm using here, or you can get a particular scissors that is destined or designated for trimmings of hairstay, right? So that your scissors can last. Then after you have gummed it, then you now fold from the notch. From the notch, fold a diagonal fold this way. From the notching, fold it this way. And then you iron properly. So this is it. You iron properly. And after which you also iron the one behind. So after this ironing now, the next you will do is to cut your pocketing for the front pocket, which is 14 by 14, right? So you will cut it with lining and then the sewing will commence. So I will cut that and then show you guys how to do this on the sewing process. All right, so we want to start the sewing process of our Ankara male shorts. Now you must have watched seen the cutting stage, and then you saw the gumming stage as well in this same video. So we want to start the sewing processes. So now after you have gummed and everything, then the next I did here was to cut my pocketing. So the pocketing measurement we have is 14 inches width by 14 inches depth. The one edge was slashed out by 1.5 inch and 7 inches deep. One edge of the pocket was slashed out 1.5 inch width by 7 inches deep. They cut it out. Now that part you cut out will be the part we use to attach to the men short, right? Then after which you bring your flap, you bring your flap and then you attach it to the pocketing. So the flap is better weaved, but if you can still fold, now this flap will be placed at the edge where is the straight part. That is where you fix the flap, the pocket facing, right? You bring the pocket facing, not the flap, rather, the pocket facing. So fix it at the part that is straight, stitch all through. So this stitching is going to be done at exact point where you weave. So it's either you weave the pocket facing or you do weaving. It's either you fold rather or you weave, right? So stitch all along this region. Stitch all along this region. Stitch all along this region. Cut your threads. Cut your threads. Make sure you cut out the excesses that might come out here. So once you have cut out your threads, just as I've shown you now, then you bring one part of the short that corresponds the part that you gummed. So you bring one part just this way. Now watch, when you bring the part of the short, this part that you folded, this part that you gummed and folded will be placed at that slashed area, and where you notched will be placed 1/2 inch across the lining, just this way, 1/2 inch across the lining, and then you stitch on the edge where you fold, and this 1/2 inch will be all through to the down, right? So it will be slanted as well. So it's very important to note all these things I'm telling you now. So you stitch all through. So while coming to the down part, you fold a tip of it this way. You can still weave if you don't want to fold. Then once you have folded that part, you make sure you handle the folding nicely all through till the very end. You handle the folding nicely to the very end. So it's easier to weave and stitch than folding, right? So we can still do do either if you want. Then cut out your threads. Then after the thread has been properly cut out, this is what I have sewn. watch, look at it. See, this is very important. Half inch across here from beginning to the end, and then fold this backwards again, just this way, and then you stitch from here. That point you notched, stitch from there. So you are going to stitch 1/4 of an inch or half an inch, depending on what you want. Then stitch all through from this point to the very end. After you have done this, cut your threads. Cut your threads just this way. This is what I have sewn. Look at how straight your lines must be, and then fold it backwards this way. And when you want to place it, you must make sure that you are replacing the same 2.5 which you use in the notching. Please note, you must replace 2.5 which you used in the notching of your pockets, right? You must replace the 2.5. So how do you replace it? You just make sure you measure from the edge of this area to the thread you have sewn must be 2.5. So once you have gotten that, you now stitch down from here. You stitch down from here. Cut your threads. Cut out this way, and then you also stitch this one down just this way. Cut your threads. Cut your threads. So stitch here down, just half an inch down. Cut your threads as well. Cut your threads as well. Then raise the lining up just like this. You see, raise it up just like this, and then notch half an inch down, half inch in. Here, half inch down, half inch in. After you have notched, then put your hand inside and bring it out in this form. So this is what we have. Then from that notching, make a stitch round. From that notching, you make a stitch round pocket base so that you seal the pocket in, right? So make a stitch from that notch point. So stitch all through to the very end. Cut your threads, then cut out all of this. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out, and then tuck it in this way. So this is what we have, and then you are going to the top stitch. Now this top stitching is very essential as well because it helps to reinforce the pockets to be stronger. So you top stitch round it this way, and when you get to that notch point, you now give it an L-shaped stitching here in order to end there properly. So this is what we have. So I will do the same thing on the other pockets, and then I will come back to show you guys as well the results on how to continue. So here now we have finished making the two pockets. So the next you will do now is to fix your zip or your zip fly. Now bear in mind that this was already gummed and one side was already weaved. So now you are going to pick the left panel of this outfit. Meanwhile, before that, you have to notch the zip point where you want the zip to be or to end. So how do you do that? Bring the two crotch together, the two front panel crotch area together. So once you bring it together, you measure from the waistline 7 inches or 7.5 or 8, depending. So I'm using 7 inches for my client. Mark 7 inches right there, and then you notch. You give a half an inch or 1/4 inch notching Then take the left panel of the short and then take the right flap just this way and place it on this region, making sure that the flap is longer than the short. And then you start from the notched point where the notching ended and start from there to stitch. So right there you stitch, you start right there, you stitch all the way down, stitch all the way up, right? So this is first thing you would do. Remember, this is for illustration purposes, so you just have to, make yours to be better off. Then once you have stitched all the way to this point, then you are going to top stitch this particular flap. So you just top stitch from this point. You top stitch from this point. Top stitch from this point. This top stitching will help your clothes to relax when you are done sewing. It's very important that you top stitch. After the top stitching, the next you will do now is to bring your zip. So you bring your zip, make sure you use the big head type of zip, and then you face it down. Then target the iron stop to be half an inch below the waistline of your short, and then you stitch on the right edge. You stitch on the right edge. You stitch on the right edge, just like this. You stitch on the right edge, just like this. So stitch on the right edge, just like this. Stitch all through to this very point. Then, after which, you cut your threads. Cut your threads. Make sure the threads will be cut out perfectly. So now you open up this flap. You open up this area, fold it backwards, just this way. So this is what it will look like. And then you bring the second flap, fold it as well, run it on the body of the machine, just this way. The area that is folded will be placed inwards this way, and make sure that the two flaps are of the same height. Very important. The two flaps must be of the same height. And then you start stitching from this edge. You start stitching from this edge. You start from there and stitch all along. Stitch all along. Cut your threads, then cut all through this one as well. Cut your threads, and then after you have sewn this point, now the next you do is to also place the short panel on top, just like this. And then you start from the notched point, that notching. Make sure that the short panel, they are corresponding here, right? So you start from that end of that notch, just from that point, stitch nicely, and then you stitch to the very end. So after you have sewn to this very point, cut your threads. So this is what you will have, right? And hold the both panels together. Then hold the crotch area as well together. You now start from that same point where your first threading ended, this same point, this way. So you have to arrange the shorts to lap properly, then make a double stitch right there, and then go all the way to this region. Go all the way to this region. So this crotch area is best stitched twice, or you can tighten your stitch width and sew it all through, you know. So if you don't want to stitch it twice, you have to tighten your stitch width on the machine so that you sew once. Then this is what it looks like. And then you end here nicely by, you know, making sure that you unzip the trouser, remove the underneath flap, and then make a 1.5-inch stitch right round, giving a curve. So here you measure 1.5. That is the recommended size for adults, except when you have an extra large client, which you can make it to be more than 1.5, maybe 1.75 or 2 inches. So here you arrange, you make sure you remove whatever you have on the underneath this way and lap it firmly from that point. And then you're also going to note where your what's it called, the end of the zip, the this part, right? So mark a chalk there to note it very well. So once you get to this stage, then you go all the way this way. You go all the way this way. You go all the way this way. Then you zip your trouser. You zip it up, and then carefully make a curvy connection. Carefully make a curvy connection right there until you get to the end here, double thread, and this is what we have. So after this, the next you will do now will be to put your darts at the back panel of your short before you start joining the sides. Bear in mind, if you wish to put a combat pocket or a patch pocket at the back panel, it's better done before joining the sides together. So now, because I don't want to put a pocket, but I will drop a link on this video on how you can achieve a combat pocket. So what I will do here is to fold this into two, or rather, since it's a male short, what I will do is from the straight side, from the straight edge of the short, I will measure 5.5 inch inside, and then measure 3.5 or 4 inches deep for the dart. I am not putting pocket or whatsoever. Then I will create a notch at that point. I will create a notch there. After the notch, then this is what we will have. I will now have to fold this in this form, fold this in this form, and then once it's been folded, then I will give a 0.5 inch stitching downwards in a V-shaped form to make sure it corresponds with the point where you marked for the dart to end. The dart could be 3.5 or 4 inches. It all depends on you and what you have in mind. Then this is how the dart should be fixed. Then if you are fixing any pocket now, this is the time you place the pocket at the dart region and then stitch all around the pocket except the up region, right? So now I will repeat the same process, the darting on the other panel as well. Remember, the dart length I chose to use is 4 inches. So in most cases, you can do 3.5 if you so wish. And here, I am marking 4 inches here, and then stitch 0.5 inch down. Stitch 0.5 inch down, just this way. 0.5 inch down, just this way. Cut off the threads, so you can as well, you know, decide to put your pocket as I have explained I will drop a link on this video on how to create a compact pocket that you can use. So after this now, the next you will do here is to start matching the sides. So here you place it this way, and then join the sides. So before you join the sides, you must make sure that these stripes are corresponding. That is one trick you will use to achieve a perfect finishing on your outfit. So here you make sure the stripes are corresponding. That's if you are working with a striped fabric just like mine. If you're not working with striped fabric, you can go ahead and join your fabric all through. So once I have held it to the very best, and then I will now start stitching. I will now start stitching from the waist region. So stitch half an inch all through, making sure that the pocket area is properly handled. Then try to match the stripes, then shift your pockets in. Bear in mind that on shorts, you don't put lining on shorts. That's for the way you put trouser lining, right? You don't need to put lining on shorts. All you need to do is just the pockets in, and you are good to go. Except you are sewing a lace you're using a lace to sew the shorts. That's the only time you can put lining. But aside that, lining is not needed, right? Except you're using a transparent fabric, so you cannot put lining either front and back or only front. Look at how corresponding these stripes here match. It's very, very important. Then do the same thing on the other side. So I will do that to come back to show the result. So after you have gotten to this very point, so this is what the whole short will look like at this stage. So we are going to lock the back waist with the back measurements. Now remember that if you want to have a jointed band, you can join the band from the back. If not, you are meant to lock. So we are going to have a jointed band on this outfit. So I'm going to slit that band we have folded. So I will slit the band into 2 equal parts, and then after which I will start joining. So before you start joining, you must have prepared your loop. The belt loop is 1.5 inches width. So you have to fold your loop and then double fold it this way, and then fold again, then stitch it all down. So I will stitch this and then show you the result. You can double thread on both sides. So now once you have sewn the loop all through this way, the next you will do is to measure 4 inches on each this way. So you will have to cut 6 loops now, because each trouser has 6 loops on it. Then except on some extra large clients, which you can add 7 loops, right? You can add 7 loops or 8, depends on the size of the waist circumference. So 6 loops is what I've just cut. They are 2 pair each, right? So after you have done this now, the next you will do is to bring your short, and then before you start fixing the band, you have to know at what point are you going to fix this. So how do you get to know that? Then measure your waist circumference, and we use 40, right? 40 is 20. Now by 2, then check the balance or what is left inside, roughly one quarter or 1.5. So here you open up your short in this form. Then since you have 1/4 left at the back, mark it out, and then mark 1.5 from whatever you have left here for your allowance. Mark 1.5. Let's use the color chalk. Mark 1.5, and then from the side joining, mark 2 inches backwards. That's the points of the loops, right? And then from the pocket fold here, 2.5 inch inwards. So this is what you do both on this side. Pocket fold 2.5 inch inwards. Then side joining 2 inches backwards this way. And then remember that you have 1/4 for the excess allowance left at the inside, after which you mark 1.5 inch this way for the back center loop. So having done that, then open up your zipper allowance, and then you can still, zip this and then cut out some excesses here, just this way, and then you open up the zip again, then bring half of the band which you have folded. Now start from the half inch which you have folded this way and place it on top. Make sure you push out like 1 inch, 1.5 inch outwards, and then start from that point just like this and stitch your band. Start from there and stitch your band. So when stitching, be very careful of the zip stopper you have installed on the zip stopper on the zip, right? So be very careful of it. Don't stitch. Your machine should not climb it. So you just give little gap, and then once you're approaching that zip stopper, it's advisable that you use your hand to roll the machine so that you don't break your machine needle. So once you have passed that stage, then you now insert your loops. On that point you have marked, then stitch on the line which you have folded, right? So you stitch from here as well. So put all of this together. So if you follow this procedure, you can still sew Ankara trouser. It's the same process. The different thing here is just the length, right? Ankara trouser can also be sewn with this method, and it can also be sewn for every age bracket with this same method, right? So stitch all through this way. After which you cut your threads, and then this is what you have, right? Then cut out the excesses from here. Cut it straight, cut it out just like this, and then you go over to the other side. You go over to the other side. You do the same thing as well, which we have done at this stage. So you go over to the other side. You still start from the back. You can start from the back for this. You start from the back part. Then you install this way. Install this way and start from there and stitch all down. Then install this as well this way. Start from there. So that side joining can be opened up, right? So that it's easier for you to handle when weaving. Then is put the loop at the last one. So after you have done this now the next thing you will do right here is you cut the excesses, but give gap, don't cut too close. And then before you proceed here, you are going to stitch down these loops 1/2 inch down all along the body of the shorts. So from the waistline, where you have joined the band, 1/2 inch down, stitch it down. This is also very important. It helps to create more space for your belt to pass through the loops. This is done both. So that is done both on Ankara shorts and trouser, right? So you must do it all through. So let me finish this and then show you the result. Now we have finished the loops. So the next you will do now is to lock the edge or the front waistband, right? So that's front waistband locking is very essential as well. So you have to, what then do you need to do? All you need to do here is just notch here to get the midpoint and then fold it backwards this way. Fold it backwards this way and you know, arrange it from here. So from that end where the flap is, you place it this way and stitch all along these points. Then you cut your threads, then cut out the excesses just this way. Cut your threads, and this is what you will have. This is what you will have. So this is what you will have. It goes all the way to this very point. Look at it. You see that? So do the same thing on the other side. Do the same thing on the front. Please, this is only done on the front, not on the back panel, please. Only done on the zip region, where that the zip is installed, not at the back waistline. Oh, just note importantly. So here you lock it and then get to it to that point. Then cut your thread, then cut off the excesses. So this is what you will have as well. So this is what you will have as well, right? So once it's done this way, now the next you do is to lock your back waistline. So the back waistline will be locked with that 1/4, the same value that was left at the inside as excesses. So you open up the whole band folding at the back. Just open it up, all the band folding just this way. Then make sure that your hand is straight enough. Please, not importantly, your hand must be straight enough while you are locking the back waistline. So here you start from there, stitch, and then have a straight line. So you arrange the crotch region properly and come down, and then you start to reduce your hand to about 3/4 when you are going down the crotch of the back panel. So you arrange the panels to lap properly just this way until you get to this point. So once you have gotten to this point now, the next you will do is to start closing the band. So which I will also show you how it is being done. So here you cut off the excesses, and then we want to start closing the band. So you have to open the band, close the way you close this way, right? Make the first fold, then make the second fold, which is the main band value. So here, before you do this, it's advisable that you weave. You now weave all the panels you must weave, and then I'll weave and come back to show you the continuation. So here we have weaved. Then the next we are going to do now is to just lock the band. So how do you lock? You just make sure you refold back these things how it was, and then start top stitching. Now in locking Ankara trouser and short band, you are meant to top stitch on the edge of the band, right? You top stitch. So carefully top stitch. So this top stitching will help to relax everything you have sewn so far. So top stitch all through to the very end. So when you get to the center panel, you open it up this way, fold, and then you refold again, fold all through, and top stitch. You top stitch all through. So you just top stitch. So this is one of the easiest ways you can use to stitch your Ankara shorts, right? Then after which you lock the up panel. Then when locking the up panel, this is when you now start fixing your loops at exact point. So you now top stitch the loops alongside the top stitching of the up Ankara panel, right? So this will be done both on shorts and trouser, right? So to make sure you don't skip any parts here, you fold your loop and top stitch alongside. You fold your loop and top stitch alongside. Just fold this way. So you gently do all of this, right? You gently do all of this. 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 So you must make sure that when you are doing all of this, the band does not shift. The band must remain firm. As you can see how mine remain firm. So that's the essence of proper gumming. Essence of proper gumming. So once you are through with this, now the next you start doing now is to lock the lap region. So now, because of the fact that we want our lap to be free, so before that, let's cut out the underneath loops, right? So you cut out the underneath loops. So because of the fact that we want our lap and knee and ankle to be free, like kind of a little bit baggy short, so we are going to use half an inch to just lock everything. But if your short is going to be a bit fitted, this is the time you now apply your customer's lap circumference, knee circumference, and lock all through. So here our short is ready. So let's lock. So just fold, just get it together and make sure that the two crotch are corresponding as well. And then you stitch it with half an inch. So remember, if you have a fitted measurement on your shorts, you apply the measurement. So I want mine to be free. So you just stitch half an inch all through. Make sure that the two crotch are held together, right? These two panel must correspond here, must correspond. So you open up the allowances just this way. You open them up. All of these things count. It matters. It gives relaxation on sewing. So don't just jump and then sew it anyhow you want. Then if you notice or want for the short to be stronger, you can double thread the inner leg here. So make sure that the line that is coming across to this point is as straight as possible. So you stitch it all through to the very end. So after this, you cut your threads. You also cut your threads. So here our short is ready. So the next I will do now is go and weave the inner leg and then fold the length of my choice, and then I will do that and come back to show you guys the result. Here now I have ironed the short. Now for your information's sake, if you want to iron anything trouser short, make sure that the both side lines corresponds this way. Then make sure you iron the inner leg first. These lines must correspond. Iron the inner leg first, then turn it over this other way around, and then iron the inner leg as well before you start ironing the outer areas of the short. It's very important, right? I have also folded. So the folding I have is 1.5 inch, 2 inches, depending on your choice, right? So here you start stitching. Now you stitch from the weaved line. So stitch all around this. So this is for the folding of the hem of your short. So make sure you fold it equally, and then after this, the next you will do now will be buttonhole, and button fixing. So you sew from the inside. Please note, you sew from the inside. So you see that the sewing from the inside make the work look easy, right? Or easier. Then make sure you carefully cut off all threads. Carefully cut off all threads. So before you start sewing this, you remeasure what you have folded here to make sure that they are corresponding, so that the lines will tally. So here is almost 1/3, right? So this is the same thing, 1/3 as well. So you sew all through. You sew all through. Then I will show you the fitting on me so that you will see how it is, right? So you go and iron out where you have sewn. Please iron out where you have sewn before you start fitting. All right, guys, so here is the fitting of the short we just made. See how perfect it is on me. You see, ba? Look at how beautiful it is on me. So you see how free it is. So this is how your short should be. So you can raise your legs, you know, and even climb a bike with it without having much restrictions on the hip region. So you don't need to really make the leg to be thin this way, except on preferential request. So you can make the leg to be thin, and this shirt can be worn with a black, this short rather, can be worn with a black shirt just like mine, a black polo, or even a corresponding top as well. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye for now.